Hello and welcome to Richard George Tailoring's channel, where we talk all things beautifully bespoke and luxury made-to-measure tailoring. Now this video is all about a subject very close to my heart, handmade tailoring. We believe that we have created the finest handmade suit ever. If I were to describe it, it would be a fully canvassed, handmade Solaro suit. And there are three topics within that which we're going to dig into and discuss at length. The first aspect is the fully canvassed element. Now, any well-made garment, jacket or waistcoat would be fully canvassed. Now, what is fully canvassed? Fully canvassed refers to the inner construction of the jacket or waistcoat. There are lots of layers to a beautifully made garment, and one of those is a canvassing, specifically a horsehair Italian canvassing. It's the canvassing that will provide shape, it will provide structure and longevity. Much like a well-made pair of shoes, when worn over time, they mold and shape to your feet and become like a second skin. Now a suit will do that, but only if it is canvassed. You can of course get a half canvas construction, which is usually applied to much softer tailoring. The finest made suit that I refer to is the one I am wearing. Now this is a fully canvassed piece. From the top of the shoulder, down to the bottom of the jacket and through the lapel is an Italian horsehair canvassing. This will ensure that as I wear this piece over time, it will mould and it will shape accordingly to how I move and how I wear it. This means that it will become like a second skin, ultimately the most comfortable garment I could possibly own. The fact it is fully canvas will ensure longevity. This piece will last a long time, provided it is looked after well. Best comparable to a well-made pair of shoes. When you first put them on, they may not feel quite right, or a little bit stiff, or a little bit close, but as you wear the piece, it will soften and it will mold to your shape and become more and more comfortable. A horsehair canvas garment will do just that. The fibres will relax with the warmth of your body and the wear and will become like a second skin. You will only ever find properly fully canvas garments in high-end tailoring. The next feature of this particular suit is of course the handmade element. Some garments of course may have handmade aspects, but not entirely handmade. That is really quite unique. From the beginning, the cloth is laid out and is cut by hand to produce the pattern that will form this beautiful suit. It is then sewn entirely. Now I mean entirely, every thread is sewn by hand. But why? What is the benefit of handmade? Well, firstly, to own an entirely handmade piece is wholly unique. In a day and age where speed is of the essence, the beauty of handmade is lost for the convenience of creating the piece quickly. So to possess such a piece in itself is very special. But not only this, it provides a practical aspect also. Because it is entirely made by hand, we are able to switch instantly the tension of the thread. When you wear a suit, there are various stress points: elbows, knees, shoulders, and it is here that just that little bit more give is noticed. It allows for more room without compromise of the shape. Even with fabrics that are a little bit stiffer, you have that ease of movement thanks to that release in tension. And areas that provide a bit more rigidity, the tension can be more taut. There is a further fantastic reason why handmade is so special. The intricacies of design are really quite something to behold. The bar tacks, which will be found at stress points of the garment, i.e. vent closures, all areas that get wear regularly. Bar tack will provide security and prevent the fabric from being at risk of tearing, but also something really quite special aesthetically. They look beautiful. Features can be made of these in contrast thread colours, but for me personally, tonal is always my preference. A pick stitch will be found along most of the edges of a beautifully made garment. This is done often by machine, and takes time, and there is a degree of skill involved, but for us and how we create the greatest suit ever made, we need to level it up. So we do this by hand. There are inconsistencies, but there is inconsistency in the beauty of the fact that this is done by a human and not a machine. When opting for a handmade pick stitch, consider that the finer the fabric, the more clearer this will be seen. The light catches it just right, and a true appreciation for this wonderful feature can be had. Running from the jacket through a waistcoat, down the trousers, a pick stitch very subtly appears momentarily with wear. A further handmade detail would be the buttonholes. There is great skill in creating a buttonhole, and our buttonholes will take at least 1 hour per buttonhole and can only be done by somebody who has proven they can produce a perfect buttonhole. It's a long and lengthy process, but the finished article is spectacular. Further proof of this being an entirely handmade piece can be found in the button attachment. Opting for the shape of a lily, it is clear that this has been done by hand, in contrast to the generic crisscross. To the untrained eye, pleating that can be found in the shoulder could be considered a fault, but in actuality is an example of true craftsmanship. A much softer shoulder will exaggerate these pleats, and it just shows that each one has individually been placed by hand. A classically Italian style, very popular at the moment. What greater way to showcase that this piece is yours by personalised embroidery. Again, this could be done by machine in a very quick and orderly fashion, but we take the time to do this by hand. Both the monogramming internally, or perhaps freedom of expression by way of a phrase or a quote that means something to you. Each one of my garments has a very personal quote under the collar. It's very small, tonal to the fabric, and is just for me. This one, Wish Better, refers to the famous Jim Rohn quote, "Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better." Of course, it goes without saying, the lining application, the Q wedge, the labels, all applied by hand. The final element of this beautifully made garment is, of course, the cloth. A key component, as I'm sure you can imagine, for any suit. The fabric we have chosen here for this piece comes from Loro Piana, infamous mill based in Biella, gaining huge popularity certainly over the last few years, but synonymous within the tailoring world of fantastic cloth production. And it comes from the latest collection, which is called Helios. Helios, for those that don't know, is the Greek god of sun, and the collection is predominantly Solaro. Now, what is Solaro? Well, Solaro is a material that has been produced for many, many years and actually dates back to the 1900s. It was originally created by Dr. Louis Sambon of the London School of Tropical Medicine. It was originally created to protect military types from harmful UV rays when in tropical climates. The iconic tan with red hue was loved the world over by tailors and clients. Interestingly, it transpired that it wasn't ever actually protecting the wearer from UV rays, so a little bit of a fail in that respect. Comprising of 100% superfine merino wool, this is a very light, breathable piece. It flows as many Italian fabrics do. As the cloth is very light, it is perfect for warmer climates, warmer summers, and will drape much like most Italian fabrics do. In contrast to British, it is less structured, it is less formal, and can be worn more readily. And there we have it, the most beautiful suit ever made, the highest construction you could possibly have. This is something for those that really appreciate fine craftsmanship, further proof that a suit is not just a suit. It may not be something that you have on your first commission, maybe not even your second, third or fourth, but is certainly something to aspire to and is just a pleasure to wear and to behold. It's been wonderful chatting to you, introducing you to one of our constructions here at Richard George Tailoring. I hope it's been interesting, informative, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. See you soon.